But in this whole experience, do you know how many times I've been reached out to by the news to get a comment or a story or anything?
Well, I would hope a lot, but I'm guessing not a lot.
Never.
Jeez.
Not once, with exception to Nancy Pelosi's daughter.
Really?
She reached out to my attorney within like a month.
Wow.
And I appreciate that for
Right.
trying to get to the objective part of the story, because there's all this commentary that's come out in videos, if you've seen of her that day, where
Yeah.
she's like, we all know this is a big scam. Like, it's not
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't give her any interview because my attorney's like, no, don't do it. So I'm like, okay. But so what does that mean? You have this big story, you're putting circles around dude's head, you're showing their address multiple times at doors. You know, what does this mean? Why would you not want to talk to them? Everybody would want to talk to them, wouldn't you? Even if like they hate me, don't you want me to make a statement that would incriminate or anything like that? The reason they don't is because it would go against the narrative of what they're trying to push.
Right.
And it's disgusting. So now coming like full circle, I've been battling this. My case prior to Trump's pardon and or dropping of charges, if your case was still active, my case was the third oldest active case in the Department of Justice, unadjudicated, from January 6th, because I've been battling and have spent so much money. Like all the money I've ever worked for is gone. Right. Okay. I've never asked anybody for anything, but that's what happened.
Right.
To people that you would think that were doing the right thing, but inherently they just kind of like hate you, which is just so weird. And, you know, they keep saying, oh, well, we have these trials and it's a jury of your peers. It's not a jury of your peers. It's 94% Democrat. And the way the trial works, you get 60 jurors, you throw 20, they throw 20, and you get your alternates, and you're not statistically winning that battle.
Right.
It's just not happening. Put these cases somewhere where it's actually split 50-50, you probably hardly get any convictions, frankly, except for some of these guys that were violent, which I don't condone at all. I think that's ridiculous. But, you know, I think a lot of it was self-defense, but there was obviously a lot of bad crap that should have never happened. So those charges got thrown out. So in the interim, 6 months later, as a result of them raiding my house, using the Patriot Act against me, literally for 6 months, Nick, sent people to follow me. These pricks followed me to the gym because the one lurchy guy, he was wearing his mask. You'd only see his eyes. He would bring a bag upstairs to the weight room. And I like was a member at this swanky gym. Like, you can't do that. You're not allowed to walk around with bags.
Right.
And it's a huge place. So this prick, so he would be over there, he would follow me there. So when I would see him, then I would just walk to the other side of the gym just to be a jerk. So then he would get up and walk over. And I'm like telling my attorney, like, this guy's like literally there all the time. It's just weird. Like, it's just, you know, he's like, well, just go take his picture. So he knows you're not afraid. So I would like go up and take his picture and leave. And one day I was watching him in the mirror as he was watching me, and he wasn't putting the weight back on the machines. Just more disrespect, really, frankly. Right. It's kind of like these are just some disrespectful pricks. A lot of them, I'm sure, are great people, but the ones that have bought into the lies, man. So I went up to him, I'm like, hey, look, dude, put the weight back on the machine. He's like, I did. I said, on the one you just got off, but not the one before. Like, if you're going to be in my gym following me around, that's one thing, but be respectful while you're here.
Yeah.
You know, it's just crazy, man. But it's just more mental torture. I had a trip planned to Texas. That actually they had a complaint on me. Then they like indicted me the day before my trip to Texas. And so my orders were, hey, look, you can go anywhere you want, but you have to let us know if you leave the state and don't come back to DC until like this is over with. So I had this trip to Texas. So I'm like calling every week to these probation people in DC, which you have to call in. Just the process of I've basically been on probation for 4 years. Haven't so much as had a speeding ticket. Like, you know what I mean? It's been half a decade, man. 10% of my entire life now has been consumed with this craziness. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to Texas. They're like, no problem. Send us your itinerary. I'm like, here you go. Texted all this stuff. So the day they indict me, which is the day before I go to Texas, when I'm now before the judge and the prosecutor's doing whatever his shenanigans, he says, Your Honor, the FBI just informed me yesterday that Mr. Costianes is going to Texas and no one knew. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? He's like, it literally says this, man. It's so crazy. These people live in La La Land. He goes, Texas is beside Mexico. We think he's going to walk to Mexico. And I'm like, who the hell walks to Mexico, bro? Like, who's doing that? Not walking. Like, what are you talking about? So then now he's demanding my passport. It's just so crazy. There's so many crazy things that have happened. It's unbelievable, man. And I like, so here's the most important thing as far as like what we're talking about now. I could go on and on with a bunch of really insane stories, and I maybe it'll come out at some point. But what I'm going with now, they spent 6 months to then fabricate a case on me based on things that they didn't like that I had in my house, and charged me with all these other new charges. So I've been now battling that, and I've had attorneys that I've hired and paid a lot of money to, and this is very important. I filed after the first experience and the amount of egregious violations of my rights, namely my Sixth Amendment right to effective assistance of counsel. I was lied to. It's just shocking the things that have happened. The case is under seal, so nobody can see. If that case was not under seal, people would be like, it's unbelievable. Okay.
Right.
But I filed what's called a 2255 motion. They're very, very rare they ever get filed. I did it pro se, and it's exceptionally rare any judge ever signs off on it. And I did it for a violation of my Sixth Amendment rights, ineffective assistance of counsel. I printed out all this stuff from this attorney who lied, obfuscated. Just it's shocking what he did. And I had like 12 exhibits, and I filed it with the court. And like a month later, the judge said, and I had been sentenced. I was promised probation for the stuff they didn't like when they raided me as a result of the January 6th raid, which is fruits of the poisonous tree, right? If I lie and say, hey, Nick, your taillight's burned out, I'm pulling you over when it's not, and then find out you're drunk and give you a DUI, but the whole reason that I pulled you over was on a lie, then that's fruits of the poisonous tree. So you're coming swatting me on a lie for something that's constitutionally protected right I have. This whole thing is ridiculous and should be thrown out. So the judge read what I filed. He said, there is no way I'm putting you in prison until we get to the bottom of this. And he then paid for, because this whole experience has broke me, dude. I deliver pizza, man. I used to make a lot of money. I paid very, very, very well. And I sacrificed many years to be like a very highly awarded and regarded sales professional in the DC metro area. And I met a lot of friends over that time. And, that was all taken away from me. And now I'm stuck in just this nightmare. Right. So long story short, we get through this process with two brand new attorneys that are very powerful and very highly regarded. They did the same thing to me in a different vein. On the front end, it was wonderful. They did all this magical stuff, promised me probation, all this stuff, no big deal. But then lied and obfuscated tremendously huge facts to where the judge said, I don't even care about what you're charged with, but it's these tremendously huge facts that I have a problem with. Those facts are a lie. It's not factual. And they knew it. And here's the thing. When I moved back to West Virginia, I was a full-time caretaker for my sister. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, man. I'm dressing her, there's like diapers involved, food, it's like a whole thing. But her and I have been so close, and I pushed her to do these exercises, got her on medicine. She really started improving. Now it's digressed. But all these attorneys had to do was file this one form that says he's a caretaker for his sister. And I would have, even if I was convicted, I would just be like on an ankle monitor. They never did that, man. Not only is it enough to destroy your life and destroy this woman, never been married, no kids, most kind-hearted person. She's never had a drink of alcohol in her life. Couldn't be any sweeter. Tormented with terrible disease that I'm sure there's plenty of people in the time that she worked there. They say if you work there for 30 days from the water that was poisoned at Aberdeen Proving Grounds, you could have all these neurological disorders. She worked there 15 years on base as a DOD contractor, and it's just, and not only did they want to destroy my life, my whole reputation, my job, my mental health, threaten like let's just keep yelling, put your hands on your head for a minute. That'll get them. It's one of the most terrifying things. You will pray to God and make peace with your maker instantly when then put in that situation. And it will never escape like the mental ingraining that takes place with something like that, man. People say, oh, when my kid was born, there's certain things in life, I guess, that are just so shocking and drive so much adrenaline. Yeah. This was definitely one of them. So not only were they happy to destroy my life, lie, obfuscate, and do all these wicked things, but I caught their asses and filed it with the court. And the judge has been very, very fair with me, and I've been very lucky, even though he's a very scary man. I'm sure he probably doesn't like me. he's very, very smart, and he's been fair with me, and that's, you know, but they wanted to destroy my sister's life. She just gave me just a little bit of money, just like a fraction, just barely enough so I could like pay my phone bill and stuff for me to quit my job and be her full-time caretaker. After a year, I just got so burned out. We hired somebody to come from like 9 to 3. So 6 hours, 5 days a week. That bill was over $5,000 a month. And insurance doesn't pay for home health care. You have to spend all your money until you're broke, and then it's like Medicaid.
Right.
They never filed that form to make the court aware of what I was doing. So now you're destroying this elderly woman who's got she's fully disabled life with her sister, who she's like been close to her whole life, and her caretaker. I mean, it's just wicked, brother. But so 2 weeks ago, based on those charges, I was supposed to turn myself into prison after I did the new resentencing and got basically shafted and got my hand held down the Golden Brick Road to more lies and obfuscation of the truth to the judge by these defendants, defense attorneys. And I filed another 2255 motion. I talked to the one guy on the phone. I'm like, hey, look, man. Like, he wasn't even there. There's two of them. The one was. I said, you're telling me this doesn't matter. But the judge said, what? I pled guilty to one charge. He said that this charge he didn't even care about, but it was all these other things that were a complete and total lie. That's the reason why he's like, wants to put me in prison. How are you telling me this doesn't matter? That attorney tells me, well, if you want, you can file another 2255 against me. So I did. And I filed it in December, and I heard nothing. In the interim of that, I have an appeal in that case for some just like technicalities that allows for resentencing that my last attorneys had filed. Once I filed that 2255 motion for them violating my Sixth Amendment right for effective assistance of counsel, they withdrew from me being counsel. And I got this brilliant and amazing and highly regarded appellate defense attorney. And we started talking like literally 3 weeks ago. And I explained my whole situation. And she's like, you need, God bless her, man. She's like, you need a good conservative attorney to help you. I said, well, that would be great. Like, do you know one? She's like, no. So like, hey, I appreciate your honesty.
Right.
And I think just the narrative and the propaganda was so strong that these people believe that all of us were like evil, mean people who wanted to do bad stuff. And that's not the case at all.
Right.
Not the case at all. If me and you go to a football game and a fight breaks out and someone gets killed, are you a murderer because you were at the game?
No.
Right. But in this instance, yes, you are.
Right.
And so it's sad, but I think the truth is we're getting to a really dark place to now. A lot of people are seeing what's going on.